Today was a different day, so we were getting a late start. I don't know if anybody's catching the broadcast live, and they're like, "Oh yeah, don't those guys usually start at 1 o'clock?" So yeah, we're here. It's just a little longer. Good to see some people that haven't been here in a little while. Hey! So actually, that kind of falls right into here, doesn't it? All right, so anybody over the age of 1.5, raise your hand if you never had any problems in your entire life. Right? Yeah, never had any problems, right? Perfect health, money just rains from the sky, right? Every car that you want, you get, right? Isn't that what people's lives look like? No, not at all. What were we talking about last week? Okay, what were we talking about 2 weeks ago? Hope, right? Okay. So, I don't know, maybe I did those backwards, but I talked about hope first, didn't I? Yes. And then what did I talk about after that? Tests, right? Tribulations and faith. Yeah. So, who were we talking about last week? We were talking about Job, weren't we? Okay, so, yeah, job. Yes, get a job. All right, so. Yeah, he did get a job done too. Okay, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing again because that's a story that we've all covered many, many times. Excuse me. But just to really quickly, and you can leave that actually, just to run the synopsis really fast. In 42 and 12, it was stating that at the end of all these things that happened to him, he had 14,000 sheep, 6,000 camels, 1,000 yoke oxen, and 1,000 she-asses. He had 7 new sons, 3 new daughters, because we all remember that the first ones died when the house went boom, right? And it says that in all the land were no women found so fair as the daughter of Job. And their father gave them inheritance among their brethren. So check it out. Even after all that nasty stuff happened to him, and a lot of people, probably including me, you only catch that because you kind of just get to the end of the chapter and you're like, oh, okay, good, I'm finished reading this book. Let me move on to the next one, right? Catch that last piece. He got twice the wealth that he had already, which some people posit that he may have been the wealthiest man on the planet already at the time, because this is a very, very old book. This goes possibly past the Iron Age, back into the Bronze Age. I'm talking Neolithic here. It says that he shared with his brother. So not only was he rich, he wasn't Ebenezer Scrooge, was he? He was giving it out. It says right there. It says he was giving it out. I don't know if I really paid any attention to that before. We look at all the stuff that happened to him and went, man, this guy's life, it was just like caca falling from heaven all over him, right? He's just raining poo. But do we look at what he did and what his actions were in the midst of all that and after that? I don't know if I caught that before. So this one was left over from before, but I like it. So I have to have it not removed yet. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison that you may be tried, and you shall have tribulation 10 days. Goes right into what we were talking about, doesn't it? Be thou faithful unto a little bit of discomfort, a little bit of inconvenience. That's what it says, right? No? It says death, and I will give thee a crown of life. So if we're not faithful unto death, what do we get instead? Interesting. Okay, so you might be saying, oh, well, you just told me that this guy is like a bazillion years old. This Job guy. Why do I care about that? How does that affect me now? You're going, hey, look what we got. We got craziness in the government. We got people that don't like the president. We got people that do like the president. We got infighting in Congress. Like, how does some guy that was a bazillion years old relate into my life at all? Why do you bring him up? Okay. Well, how about we talk about somebody that was a little closer in age here? Let's go look at Paul. Paul was an interesting character. All right, so I'm going to go to 2 Corinthians, and I'm going to start at 11:23. He's got a little bit of a story. Are they ministers of Christ? I speak as a fool. I am more. More what? In labors more abundant, in stripes above measure, in prisons more frequent, in deaths oft. Of the Jews, 5 times received I 40 stripes, save one. Okay, do you know why it was 40 save one? If they beat somebody more than 40 stripes, the guy that was giving the punishment, they turned around and put him on the pole next. And they locked him on there, and they gave him the whip. And you've seen this, right? You know what it looks like. So they were very careful to count. Well, the last guy was so careful, he's like, I think I got to 39. I'm going to stop just in case I miscounted, because I don't want to do what he just got done doing. 5 times this happened to him. 5. So he didn't say, well, okay, yeah, that was a pretty crappy day. I ain't doing that over again. I'm just going to stop preaching because they don't like it, obviously. They're beating me because I'm doing it. So I'm just going to play the safe road. I'm going to stop. He didn't do it.
I would say it's amazing that he survived scourging like that. Because usually one would kill him.
They can. All right, so Elder was saying that it was amazing that he didn't die because of any of those. Right? Well, that's a very good point. Why didn't he die? Why didn't Jesus die for the beating that he got, which I had read from a physician's review, should have killed pretty much any man on the planet, because he wasn't done yet. He didn't accomplish his task. It wasn't given to Jesus to die while being beaten. It was given to him to die on the cross. So supernaturally, that behind kicking, that flogging, that ridiculous amount of punishment that we can't even imagine, this should have killed anybody. Now, certainly not saying Jesus was laughing through it. That's unimaginable pain, but it didn't kill him because he wasn't done yet. Same thing here. He hadn't accomplished his mission yet. So even though he got all of this, it didn't take him out. It wasn't time yet. Right? It wasn't time. Thrice, so 3 times, was I beaten with rods. Once was I stoned. Thrice I suffered a shipwreck. So 3 times he had a ship sink out from underneath of him. A night and a day I've been in the deep. In journeyings often, in peril of water. Well, yeah, I'd say a shipwreck qualifies for peril of water. But look, it keeps going. Perils of robbers, perils by my own countrymen, perils by the heathen, perils in the city, perils in the wilderness, perils in the sea, perils among false brethren. Did he miss anything? I think that pretty much covers kind of like all of them, doesn't it? Okay. Peril of water. Yeah, okay, that was the ships, right? Peril of robbers. Okay, so whatever little he had, somebody tried to take. Because he certainly wasn't a wealthy man. None of the apostles were. Right? I mean, didn't Jesus even tell them, right? If you've got 2 jackets, give one away. I think he said clothes. Right? He said, don't worry, don't take any concern for what's going to be tomorrow, for food, for raiment, for shelter. If you're doing what I've told you to do, I'll be taking care of all of this for you. So what did they have that they bothered to rob him? But it said, somebody tried. In perils by my own country, in perils by the heathen. So everybody hated him. The Jews wanted him dead, right? Because he had converted. He was now preaching Christianity instead of tormenting and torturing Christianity. And then the heathen, which was the unbelievers. So everybody is after this guy. Right? He's basically, if If you ever watched John Wick, he's got the $14 million contract out on his head. Everybody wants him dead. He's got no place he can go. Peril in the city, peril in the wilderness, peril in the sea. Well, that pretty much covers it all, doesn't it? If you're not in the city, then you're outside the city, right? So he said cities and wilderness, and then scratch all those and get on a ship, and now he's in peril in the ocean too. And among false brethren, so people he even thought he could trust that were supposed to have his six, right? That's a flight term. I got your back is another way, right? Okay? Ride or die. I'm your buddy. Brethren to the end. And yet, they stabbed him.
So it says perils in the water and then later perils in the sea. What's the difference between the two?
Peril in the water could have been on a river. A river wouldn't be the sea. Good question. So peril among false brethren, right? Weariness and painfulness, watching often, hunger and thirst, fasting often in cold and nakedness. Now, so he's tired, he's hurting, and watching often. What do you think watching was? Praying for those that needed, perhaps. Right? So he was also a pastor, right?
Yeah.
So isn't he watching out? That's supposed to be his job, right? Doesn't the shepherd watch to make sure the wolves don't come in? Because the sheep are dumb as rocks. They'll stand there and get slaughtered. Sometimes we're as dumb as rocks too. We don't see the wolves for what they are. If they've got a nice suit and a pocket watch, fingernails are perfectly done, and well, if you have any hair is nicely trimmed. You're like, wow, I should be able to trust this guy. He's sharp. He looks good. What's the easiest way to snub somebody? Look like you know what you're doing. Talk like you know what you're doing. Watchings. In hunger and thirst and fasting, often in cold and nakedness. Wow. So after all these other things that came upon him, now he's got not enough to eat, not enough to drink. You have no water, how long will it last? A couple of days at best, right? Isn't it maybe 3? Mm-hmm. Food, you can kind of slide on that for, what, about a month? 2 weeks? Okay, go with 2 weeks. Close enough. Hunger and thirst and fastings often. So you think his fastings were always voluntary? I think some of them were, but what just did he say right before that? Hunger, and cold, and nakedness. So would all of those relate back to perils of my own countrymen, perils of robbers, perils of the heathen, peril in the city, peril in the wilderness, peril in the sea? If none of those other people were chasing him and everybody was helping him, would he have all these other problems? If you had friends in every city, you could just jump on a jet randomly and land and pick up the phone and say, hey, Frank, I'm staying at your house tonight. Frank goes, yeah, sure, come on by. No problem, that'll be great. We'll put on a roast for you. Didn't have anything to worry about, would you? I don't think he had anybody to call. Yeah, I get it, there were no telephones, but you see what I'm saying. He didn't have any place to run. He had no safe, what do they call those? Little rat holes or something, right? Some place to go that people can't find you. A safe haven. He had no safe havens, dude. He's telling us right here, there are none. That was a pretty crappy existence for him, wasn't it? And he doesn't say that this was a short period of time either. He said, all these things. Well, how long would that be? How long was he going before he got beaten 5 times? Did it happen all in a week? I'm thinking, no. Probably years, right? So what's wrong with this guy? Is he crazy? You know, there's something seriously wrong with his head. He's doing this voluntarily, and you're like, all these things are going wrong. Why doesn't he stop? What's wrong with this guy? He had a mission, didn't
Yeah.
he? Charlie Mike, continue mission. He didn't stop. How many of us would have said, you know what, after the first beating? No. After the first shipwreck, man, I almost drowned. Forget this. I ain't getting on a boat again. That's craziness. All right, and also, you definitely remember, we're thinking ships in our head, right? We're thinking like 1,000-foot-long cruise liners. Okay, we're thinking stuff that was built by professionals that's been inspected for safety. Those weren't.
No.
We have no idea what those boats look like, but some of them were probably slapped together and probably were not maintained very well. They had no safety inspections. We don't know what kind of stuff he went through. He's going from place to place on any ship he can get a hold of. Right? He didn't just call up Carnival or the local ferry lines and say, I need to take my Land Rover from here to here. It's going to be me in the truck. Go ahead and put me on the ferry. They had none of those options. And yet, what does he say after all of those points? Besides those things that are without, that which cometh upon me daily, the care of all, what? Himself? All my problems? All my stock portfolio? All the Mercedes-Benzes I have in my fancy garage? All my churches. All the churches. Who is weak and I'm not weak? Who's offended and I burn not? If I must needs glory, I will glory of the things which concern mine infirmities. Wow. That's an interesting paragraph, isn't it? He pointed out all these terrible things that happened to him. But did he rail against, as I like to say, any of the people or situations that caused all of those circumstances? It says he was beaten 5 times, right? Wouldn't it be judgmentally righteous for him to turn around and condemn the people that were doing that and go on a long harangue about how the Jews stink? He would have been within his rights there, wouldn't he? Look what they did to him. He doesn't go back and bring up any of those things, does he? He mentions them all and then lets it go. He just drops it and goes right into his next thought. Complete spin 180 turn. He didn't go back and mention, how he got cheated at Thanksgiving dinner and he didn't get invited. So, man, just wait for some of that jelly cranberry sauce. Oh. Some people don't like that. I heard that was the least favorite dish at Thanksgiving. I look forward to it every year. I don't know, maybe I am crazy. I love that stuff. So, I don't know what he was waiting for. I'm sure he had a favorite meal. Most of us do. But it doesn't sound like he got to try that favorite meal very often, did he? But he didn't go back and complain about any of those things, did he? What was his next statement? Nothing to do with himself at all. He said, I'm sweating the churches. That's what I'm worried about. That's what's keeping me up at night. That's what gives me upset tummy. Not the fact that I'm hungry. Not the fact that I don't have a Brooks Brothers suit. He's probably lucky to have clothes. Didn't he say nakedness and cold? Which means that probably some point he was lucky to have a pile of rags. Right? He probably tried to, tie them together to keep warm. Most of us have never been there. Most of us really can't imagine that. But we want to whine and cry how bad it is in our life. Now, I'm not saying that people don't have it bad. That's not what I'm saying. What are you doing about it, though? He still went forward, didn't he? Even after all this. We're in the midst of all this, I should say. He kept moving forward, right? He did. James has some interesting observations as well. James says this in 1 and 2. These are hard words. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into divers temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. But let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not. That means that he doesn't do temptations. Knowing this, the trying of your faith worketh patience. Who's going to have solid, unwavering faith if they never have any temptation? Isn't that what he's saying? Right? If we take that, if we spin that 180 degrees and we look at it from the other end, well, that would seem to be the corollary, right? No test? No faith. What do we need faith if everything's fine? Okay? If we had a perfect, unbumpy, nothing ever bad happened in life, would we ever go looking for God? We probably wouldn't, would we? What would we need him for?
Okay. All right, praise the Lord. I was just thinking, you're saying everything was perfect. It made me think about Job's life and how that in the midst of being blessed, he was still making these sacrifices.
Yeah.
Interceding for his
family. Yes.
And his family was kicking up their heels and partying. You know what I'm saying? They were doing almost like you said the opposite. He was concerned whether they cursed God in their heart.
Yeah. Okay. So
and he was trying to make intercession for them.
I don't know if the camera picked that up, but Elder made a really good point. He said, circle back to Job for a second. He said, when you're looking at the very beginning, when God and Lucifer were making their little heyday bet here, it said that the kids were basically partying, but he was making a sacrifice in case they had done or thought anything out of sort. Doesn't say that he knew they were doing anything wrong or had a problem. He was just covering all bets. Smart man. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. Who asked for a bunch of wisdom? Solomon. And for a while, he did a pretty good job with it, didn't he? Well, we know his end didn't come very well, but why did his end not come very well? He stopped exercising wisdom, didn't he? Because if you're using wisdom, you're going to know that what you're doing is not so good, and you won't get on the bad side of God, but he did. You should have listened to that one. Let him ask in faith, nothing wavering, for he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. Can you pick up a wave? I'm going to hand you a wave.
I lost my way.
You lost your wave? Yeah. Apparently I did too. They don't stand, do they? They're ephemeral, right? It's just something that we observe in a body of water. If I grabbed one in the bucket and brought it over to you, what would you see? You could look at it and like, okay, great, the bucket's full of water. I was like, no, that's a wave. Like, you're crazy. It's a bucket of water. You can't catch it, can you? That's what he's saying, that it doesn't last. It goes very quickly. Blessed is the man that endured temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that love him. Let no man say when he is tempted, I'm tempted of God, for God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man. But every man is tempted. When? When? When he is drawn away of his own lust and, what's that last word mean? What's mean? What does that mean? Seduced. Yeah. Good one, Ellen. Yes. Pulled. Drawn. Tempted. Maybe I can get away with that. She looks pretty good. Wife's on a business trip for a week. She'll never know. I'll give her a call. That's an enticement, isn't it? Wow. Then what happens? He's drawn away of his own lust and enticed. And when lust hath conceived, it bring forth sin. So, what's he saying here? Is the lust really the problem? It's the beginning of the problem. Okay. People say that men are pulled more visually, right? We see a woman that looks pretty good and we go, wow. And then what? Yeah, she's standing right there. Pastor, you get cracked in the back of your head by your wife. Yeah, that's probably true. She's standing right there. Were you looking at her? Oh, no. Absolutely, I was not looking at her. I was looking at that other car that was just going past. That was a really nice car. Enticed, right? You got pulled. You looked and you said, okay. And you walk off. That happens to just about really every man. And I'm certainly not exempting women, because I know that some guy, well, can, I don't know, whatever you think. You know, Richard Gere, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Hugh Jackman, you know. If any of those get your engine revving, you know, it's like, ooh, man, he's fine. You looked. He's saying what happens that comes next if you keep going. Right? Keep driving that bus. What comes next? Then when lust has conceived, it bringeth forth sin. And sin, when it's finished, bringeth forth death. Do not err. Do not mistake. Do not get off track. Do not deviate, my beloved brethren. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, and cometh down from the Father of lights, with whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. Okay, actually, I think I will finish this week. Okay, so.
Yeah.
Okay, make it fast. All right, so what holiday is coming very soon? Well, actually two, right? We have Thanksgiving, and then we have Christmas, don't we? And the point of Christmas, right, is what? Birth of Jesus, right? Okay. So what do we know about him? I'll hit this quickly. Isaiah says in 53, and this is hundreds of years, perhaps thousands, before he's actually born. God gives Isaiah a revelation, a view into the future, right? Who hath believed our report, and to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? He shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of a dry ground. He has no form nor comeliness, and when we see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him. He is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrow, and acquainted with grief. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he had borne our griefs, carried our sorrows, and we did esteem him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted. That's a lot of negatives. He was wounded for our transgressions, bruised for our iniquity. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. Why does he have to do all those things? All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way, and the Lord hath laid on him the iniquity of us all. I have more, but I'm going to stop because I'm getting my belt pulled.
Nobody saw me pull a belt.
Maybe it was vocally. So I'm being told it. Okay. So to pull it in for something, right? You might say that was a pretty depressing lesson. Couldn't you? I mean, there was a lot of beating, and there was a lot of shipwrecking, and a lot of colding, and a lot of nakeding going on here, right? Not good stuff, right? Nobody wants to do all these things. But why did all of those things happen? Because those people had dedication to keep going to spread what? What is gospel? What does it actually mean? Good news, right?
That's right.
What's the good news? What is the only good news? That all of this doesn't matter. It's not permanent, right? Doesn't it say in Revelation that the earth is going to burn? It's going to roll up like a scroll and the heaven and earth disappear. Everything is gone. All these fancy cities that we built that we're so proud of, that we think we're so technologically smart. Look at this. We've got a building that's 2,600 feet high. Yeah, right. The guy can go with his finger and that thing falls right over and crushes him. He might be slightly impressed with the things we've done because of the brain that he gave us. But can he destroy all of that fast? Yes. And more. So what's permanent? What matters? Only what we hear here, right? That we're not going to live here permanently. This is not where we're supposed to be. Hell was only created for the demons. We're not supposed to go there. We have hope to get out. So all these things that these people went through were only because they were spreading hope. Let's go spread some hope.
Let's give God a praise. Somebody cut that off. So she's not gonna have to praise.